Surprise Comics.
I absolutely love comic books. I love the format of comic books. I love the relevancy of comic books. I love the medium of comic books. And I love how they are a snapshot in history of a sign of the times. And they're just such incredibly important and collectible pieces of pop culture history, which is why in this video, we're going to take a look at 3 controversial comics. We're going to look at excerpts from those comics and discuss the controversy surrounding them, because I think that they bring up valuable points of discussion. I think it's worth, putting some thought into it. A lot of things these days with controversy are not worth your time, but sometimes there can be lessons gleaned from them or just thought-provoking ideas surrounding them. And I think the 3 comics that we're going to talk about in this video are worth taking a look at. And I really want to hear from you guys as to what your opinions are and where you stand on the controversy. But before we hop into that, if you subscribe to the channel and comment on this video and like this video, you're entered to win a free CGC 9.8 slab. And if you head over to brycecomics.com and sign up for the newsletter over there, you're also entered to win a separate giveaway monthly for a free slab. And don't forget to follow me over on Whatnot. I am going to give away this reader copy of Daredevil number 120, one of the books that we're looking at here in this video. And I'll give it away on one of my next Whatnot shows. Link down in the description for $15 towards your first purchase. I'm really enjoying being able to go back and forth with you guys and really connect with you in the chat over on Whatnot. It's definitely a lot of fun. And lastly, follow me on Instagram for trades for grails and other fresh content over on Instagram. So with that said, let's jump into these comics. Daredevil number 120, the first appearance of El Jaguar. And here we have El Jaguar pulling Black Widow out of the window by her hair. I can smell the controversy already. And I'm not going to read the whole issue, but I do recommend that you read it. It's an enjoyable issue. This is the actual page that we're interested in here. And it says, "What, pray tell, brought on that sudden burst of enthusiasm, friend Murdoch?" And Matt says, "Let's see, I ought to be around here somewhere. Oh, I forgot to tell you that yours truly and the enchanting Madame Romanoff has been invited to a New Year's Eve party. Would this go with your basic Crimson Billy Club? Don't roll your eyes, lady. It's Matt Murdock who's been invited to this bash, not Daredevil." And here he says, "So why don't you slip into something barely legal? I want my date to be the most gorgeous thing at the party." And he proceeds to slap her on the rear end. And she says, "You male chauvinist, ow." And he said, "I said, move it, darling." And here in the very next panel, he says, "I think our horseplay before has lifted Tasha's spirits, and Ivan is continuing the process." So what's super interesting to me about this is that obviously it's the same person who wrote this story. And in this panel, he slaps her and acknowledges that she would probably respond by saying, "You male chauvinist, ow." And then in this panel, he convinces himself that that little act back there actually lifted her spirits. It's just an absolute sign of the times. Super interesting. And what the idea that I want to present to you here, oftentimes these actions that our beloved heroes do in the comic books, oftentimes they get dumped off on the actual character. And I want to remind you that this isn't actually Daredevil that's doing this. This is the author of the actual story. And it presents a really interesting concept, which is, who is Daredevil? Is he just an amalgamation of all of the different artists and authors and writers and producers and actors and directors that have worked with the character and incorporated their ideas into the character, help shaping and molding his character development? Or is Daredevil his own thing? And what I think he possibly is who, however we interpret all of those influences, that's who Daredevil is. So Daredevil is not a singular personality and character. He is only a character as interpreted by us. So Daredevil to me is different than Daredevil to you, is different to Daredevil to someone else. If you're a male chauvinist, maybe this is your Daredevil. If you're a feminist, maybe this has nothing to do with your Daredevil. And that's one of the things that I think is so cool about comics and characters and this comic book culture, is that we get to put our interpretation on the character because they aren't actually a real thing. That's super interesting. I'd like to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. What do you think about this panel? What do you think about the idea of who is the character of Daredevil. Next, I want to look at Captain America number 28, and this is a controversial issue with an absolutely stunning cover by Alex Ross featuring the Red Skull, and it's controversial because it caught the attention of Canadian psychologist and author Dr. Jordan Peterson after fans pointed out to him the similarities between the depiction of Nazi supervillain Red Skull to topics frequently explored by Peterson, and we'll go over the comic here in just a moment. Peterson actually responded on Twitter by saying, "Do I really live in a universe where Ta-Nehisi Coates has written a Captain America comic featuring a parody of my ideas as part of the philosophy of the arch villain, the Red Skull?" And here we're going to actually read the actual page. And Captain America says, "So let me guess, your brother, he disappears into the internet, and when he comes back out, he can't stop talking about his new theory of the world, and that theory comes from one man, the Red Skull." And here you see the Red Skull on the computer screen, and it says 10 Rules for Life, which is a direct link to Jordan Peterson's book, 12 Rules for Life, and some other topics that he often discusses: chaos and order, Carl Luger's genius, and the feminist trap. And then the detective goes on to say, "Yeah, he did." And Cap said, "It's the same for all of them. Young men, weak, looking for purpose. I found the flag, you found the badge, they found the Red Skull. He tells them what they've always longed to hear, that they are secretly great, that the whole world is against them, that if they're truly men, they'll fight back. And bingo, that's their purpose, that's what they live for, and that's what they'll die for." And so a little background on this: Ta-Nehisi Coates used to be a national correspondent at The Atlantic, where he wrote about cultural, social, and political issues, particularly regarding African Americans and white supremacies. And Jordan Peterson is this totally controversial social media influencer and professor at a college, and he has very controversial ideas. One such controversial topic that he supports is a carnivore diet, and he was actually on this diet. I don't know if he still is, but he went on the Joe Rogan podcast, the most popular podcast in the world, and was stating all of his robust benefits from eating an all meat diet, meaning that all he eats is meat, salt, and water. And I mean, when you first hear that, you think, how could this possibly be true? And then he starts presenting all of this, scientific evidence saying that this is a good diet and this is how we evolved as humans, is just eating meat and water, and how it's so good for you. And there's all of this research, obviously, on both sides, right? There's research saying that this is not good for you. There's research saying that it is good for you. I have zero opinion on whether it is or it isn't. I would just say that if you're going to look into it, keep an open mind, keep an open mind and actually look at the evidence. But this is just an example of some of the controversial topics that he presents, most of them being more social and political. But so is Ta-Nehisi Coates. I mean, he talks about race, law, and politics, all very emotionally charged, highly controversial topics. And what I think is kind of hypocritical with his portrayal here of the Red Skull as Jordan Peterson is that he's in the same mechanism as, Jordan Peterson. He also is a social media influencer that has these highly emotionally charged topics that he's igniting young men that are championing these causes. It's the same thing. It's just he has a different argument. So that's what I think is kind of interesting about this, is he's saying that there's something wrong with this mechanism, with people disappearing into the internet and becoming so impassioned and championing these causes that they just found out about, and the algorithm of social media just feeds it and feeds it and feeds it and keeps feeding you and keeping you engaged with the topic. But he does the same thing. So it's super relevant, super interesting. I don't know that I would call it controversial. I would call it like relevant and worth putting thought into. And to boot, it has an awesome cover by Alex Ross. So the last book we're going to talk about here is actually a couple books, Thor number 700 and Rise of the Black Panther number 1, which was stamped with DNA solvent ink from Stan Lee. So what this is an actual stamp using ink that contained Stan Lee's blood, and it came with a hologram sticker with the words "Hands of Respect" and a certificate of authenticity. And in April of 2018, it was alleged that Stan's blood was actually drawn against his will, that he didn't know that this was what his blood was going to be used for. He was 95 years old at the time, and it went on several different comic book variants sold through one retailer on the Las Vegas Strip. So one thing's for sure, this is the website for the company called Hands of Respect. Stan Lee at one time absolutely was associated with this company. It's alleged that he's no longer associated with the company, but you can see down here there's actually YouTube videos of him wearing the pin, promoting this cause, which is a really just cause. It's just a black hand and a white hand shaking hands with the word respect. And it's about respect for, even with our differences, a really noble cause that really lines up with, the values and morals that Stan Lee is known to support. The thing that comes into controversy is this idea of his blood being used to make comic book variants. So one thing also that's worth noting is that this company, Hands of Respect, it's still here. You can click on this link and you can go buy your pin here. Like, it's still a company. It still has his face right there on the homepage. So, I would think that if this really was proven to be done against his will, that there would be like a lawsuit and that the site would be taken down. So I'm not sure what happened. And when you look at what the website actually says, the website claims that it was Stan Lee's idea to make this thing. In discussions with Stan, the concept of doing something similar to his KISS project. So his KISS project was where the Marvel Comics magazine featuring the rock band KISS, they took blood from all of the members of the KISS band and mixed it into vats of red ink used for the printing. This actually happened. It's called the blood issue, the KISS blood issue. And, one thing to note about this is these gentlemen right here, these are not the type of people that you want to commingle your blood with in any way, shape, or form. The blood samples from these four individuals are probably like the most, I don't know. You just don't want to be associated with the blood from these individuals. I can't believe that this actually happened. I can't believe that their blood is actually on this cover. It's just it seems like a health hazard, as does using Stan's blood seems like a health hazard. So apparently, according to the website, it was his idea to use his blood to do this, and it was also his idea to come up with the hand stamp featuring a replica of his signature. It seems like it's kind of out. The jury is still out on this, whether or not it was, legitimately, acquired or whatnot. But here you can see, they're fetching a pretty penny in the aftermarket, over $200-300 for both issues with this ink with his blood on it. It's incredibly odd and strange. And one thing's for sure, if this company, if there's a couple of people at the top of this company that are getting rich and benefiting off of, twisting this disguised as a nonprofit type of thing, and a couple of guys are getting rich off of it, that's too bad, especially if it's at the cost of, shady exclusive comics, right? But at least it's spreading the word for a good cause, right? They're selling these pins. They're spreading the word for respect and unity amongst diverse groups. It's certainly a good cause. So if there's any consolation to any kind of shenanigans happening with this, at least a good message is getting spread in the process. So leave a note in the comments. What do you think about this? Is this just completely weird, having somebody's blood in the ink, Stan Lee's blood? Is this like just another desperate cash grab attempt? Or is this highly collectible? Obviously, these people that are paying these prices think that it's collectible. I don't necessarily have an opinion on the matter, but I am curious to know what your opinion is. Leave a note down in the comments below. So there you have it, guys. Don't forget to leave a comment down below. It'll enter you to win this month's giveaway for a CGC 9.8 copy of Spider-Man number 12. Let me know what you think of this video. Let me know what you think of these controversies, where you stand on the issues. And don't forget to head over to BryceComics.com and sign up for the newsletter over there for your chance to win another slab. And I am going to give away this copy of Daredevil number 20, a reader copy. Came beautifully bagged with no board, taped to a piece of cardboard, and a manila envelope from none other than eBay. What else would you expect from a reader copy on eBay? But it's definitely worth reading and worth adding to your collection. So, well, as always, thank you for sticking with me to the end of the video, and we'll catch you in the next one. Bye.
Bryce Comics.